Welcome back. For this week's fly, we're going to do a March Brown variation that I came up with a couple years back. Simple pattern, but it is also very effective. I wouldn't recommend using it in a extremely turbulent stretch of water, just because it's going to be tough to keep afloat. But if you have some calmer water, or even a nice soft riffle, it's going to do just fine for you. But we're tying on a size 12 Daiichi 1110. I like these hooks for my dries. I like the straight eye. I don't like the I like the ring eye for my dry flies. I don't like the 45-degree bend at the front. For some reason I settled on these hooks, so this is what I went with. And then our thread is just a gel spun 50. I use this GSP for all of my dry flies. To start, we're going to go with our tail, and this is just a regular Cote de Leon feather. We're going to take, I don't know what that is, 4 to 6 strands maybe, and we're going to measure this out. March Browns tend to have a longer tail than most mayflies, so I'm going to make this just a little bit longer. You can see it's hanging off the back of the hook there. It's just a little bit longer than the shank of the hook. We're going to go ahead and get this tied in. Now I am going to split this tail, just like with the Blue Wing Olive video when I did that one a couple weeks back. You can absolutely omit this step and just keep your tail coming straight back. I just like the profile that it gives, the way that it lands on the water. It kind of acts as a prop as well, keeps your fly upright the majority of the time when your tail is split like this. So I tend to do it with a decent amount of my dries. Takes a little bit extra time, but I do think it looks a little bit better, so therefore I do it on a good bit of them. Now with this gel spun, if you're using a regular nylon, it's not so much a big deal because it's not as slick. But if you're using the gel spun, when you're doing your figure 8 through your tail, make sure that you keep your tension on it, because I'll advance forward just a little bit, and watch what happens if you take your tension off. You don't have, see how it wants to uncoil on you? Well, if you're doing that going through your tail, it's going to wind up slipping, and it's going to be really difficult to split this. I'd recommend throwing a half hitch in after you go through, but it seems like we got her down pretty good right now. Next up on this, we're going to use just a 1/8 yellow foam cylinder for our post, and I took this prior to tying, and you can see how I just trimmed it down. I kind of shaved it a little bit, that way we don't build as much bulk, and it's also going to help us with our taper as we're going back for our body. So just a nice loose wrap in here. You don't have to get real tight on it. And I'll advance forward and come right in front of it. And then you can just kind of stand this up. Just build a dam of thread right in front of your post. And then just work your way back, keeping that foam in for your taper. And then wrap over top of this. You can see it all but disappears, and I'm going to have to resplit the tail there. My fat fingers kind of smushed it together. But we'll just go right in front of this. Again, standing up our cylinder. Nice couple of wraps right in front of it. See how it stands up nice and tall for us, nice and straight. And then we're just going to go around probably 1/8 of an inch up. And just tie your post. Make some thread wraps around your post. And this is going to allow for our hackle. Fix that tail real quick, it looks better to me. This is just going to allow some space for our hackle. As you can see, I'll zoom in. I don't have my glasses on right now, so I can't really see. There we go. Yeah, we don't have, it's not very fuzzy, but as you can see right there, we have a decent amount of space for our hackle to travel underneath. So what we're going to do is just zoom back out a little bit. That should do right there. Next step for this is we're going to travel to the back and we're going to tie in our rib. This is simply a 6/0 brown thread. And just go ahead and tie this in. Now, for our body, we're going to use tan superfine dubbing. And this is going to take me a little bit longer than a normally dubbed body, because I get pretty picky when it comes to dubbing, and I use very, very little. The one thing that I can't stand is you see a lot of commercially tied flies, or just some flies that have entirely too much dubbing, and the body winds up looking like a football. And what that's going to do is, one, your taper doesn't really look too good, it's not clean, and that's going to trap water, and it's going to make it even tougher for your fly to float. So I use very, very little dubbing on my dry flies. And you can see we have a nice taper there. It's not an aggressive taper. It's nothing real, nothing that's going to stand out to you and be like, oh, wow, that's, where it's real noticeable, but it's enough to give you a nice taper to give a good mayfly representation. Now, once again, nice and loose on your, or nice and sparse on your dubbing, and I'm just going to work this right to the front here, right behind my post. And you can see this taper that we have. We've got a nice looking taper on that. Okay, nice and clean. Everything looks good. So now I'm just going to counter wrap my brown thread to act as our rib. And I didn't like that first wrap. I want to bring that back just a little bit. There we go. And take your time with this. You can pull a little bit on this if you want, because it is 6/0. It's not going to snap on you. But you don't have to be real aggressive with it. Just nice even wraps all the way to the front. Capture your thread and tie it off. Get rid of that. Everything's looking good here. So now we could use just a little bit more of a dam right in front of this. And then for our hackle, Let me see if I can find the package here. We have, it was hiding, just a tan ginger MFC Henry's fork hackle. And what this is it's just CDC that's braided into a rope. I kind of like working with this stuff. For a long time I was on a CDC kick when I was tying dry flies and emergers and things like that, but then I kind of got away from it for a while to where I didn't tie them very much, and then I saw this stuff and I was like, oh, you know what, I think I'd make a pretty neat parachute. So this is what I settled on. So now I peeled this back and you can see it. This is going to be a little bulky right here. I might try and get rid of some of that. There we go. You can see there's just the thread that they use to braid this stuff with. So I'm going to tie this in with just the braided section, no material. We'll reduce some bulk that way. And we'll trim this. Now we're going to grab some more dubbing, cover up our front section. Now what I was telling you earlier about my dubbing, how I get real picky, you can see, I mean, that doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's a ton. And I'll zoom in and show you. I'm not going to use this, but I will zoom in and show you what I'm talking about as far as your dubbing goes. I don't know how well you're going to see this. I'll try and get, there it is, to where it's all orange. So you can see this right here. See how thick that is? And then sometimes when you get it real thick, you'll have some of this dubbing actually kick out like a dog leg. That's a clear indication that you have entirely too much dubbing. This is going to build a ton of bulk, and it's just going to be real sloppy to work with. So I just wanted to show you guys what I was talking about as far as how I dub my bodies. And that was too thick. So what we'll do is we'll just take a small pinch of this, and when you dub this on here, you shouldn't notice a huge difference in the diameter of your thread and the diameter of your dubbing. This way you're going to know that you have a good amount on, enough that it's going to cover up, you know, your color is going to be coming through, but at the same time you're not going to get out of control with the amount that you're using. And we'll just go right over top of this, cover up our front section. We'll check it underneath here. I got just a little bit more I need. Spitting this stuff on there real good. Now we'll make sure our bottom section gets covered up. Now when you finish this, there's the last wrap that I'm going to use. When you finish this, I finish with my thread on the camera side of the parachute, on the camera side of the post, on the back side, and I'll explain why here in a second. It's just important to be able to capture your hackle from that side. So 1.5 wraps is about all I will use on this, and then I'll come see how my thread is on the back side here. Now when I come around, 1 wrap and I have my excess hackle trapped. It's tied off. So I can go ahead and cut this. Grab my whip finisher wherever I put that. Just misplacing all sorts of stuff here. So grab my whip finisher, and Actually, before I do that, I just want to peel some of this stuff up a little, so I'm not going to trap too much of it. That looks better. And now just right around your post. So you go around your post and above the eye. Tie that off and you're set. Now we'll just clean some of these fibers up a little bit. That looks pretty good. And the last thing I'll do is I'll go through here scissors don't want to cut for me. There we go. And I'll trim up my foam cylinder. As you can see, it's highly visible to the fisherman as it's floating this way, but on the underside you have no yellow, no visibility at all. Everything kind of, it disappears and you're able to track it really nicely. My tail kind of got away from me a little bit. But there you have it. That is the finished Henry's fork hackle version of a March Brown. If you guys have any questions, any comments, shoot them to me and I'll get back to you as always as quick as I can. But thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.